And welcome to the AARP Civic Debate Series, a joint production of Colorado Public Television and AARP. I'm your host, Dominic Dezzutti. Tonight, we continue our series of debates looking at the major races for Denver City Council. Tonight's debate features the candidates running for the 2 at-large seats on the council. Join us for the next 30 minutes are Johnny Hayes, Robin Kniech, Lynne Langdon, Jesse Parris, and Tony Pigford. Also running is Deborah Ortega, who was unable to join us today. Everyone, thank you very much for joining us. We have limited time, so we're going to get right to it. I'm going to ask all of our candidates to provide a 1-minute answer to these questions, and we're going to rotate who starts. But Johnny, you're going to start on this first one. An affordable public transportation system is vital to a livable city and to the many Denver residents who depend on it. What policies would you pursue in the City Council to promote a more affordable and accessible transportation system for all city residents?
Thank you. For transportation, one thing I'd like to include in that is what I call mini transportation, and this would provide door-to-door services. So it takes a person to a larger transportation system. It would give accessibility for those who can't easily reach light rail and bus rail stations and cut down on the traffic to improve that east to west transportation issue that we deal with. I'd like to make improvements to light rail by expanding the lines, lowering and stabilizing fares, and providing free transportation for those who need it. Our seniors would be included in that scenario. I'd also like to see improvements with the pedestrian and utilitarian modes of transportation, such as bicycles and scooters. Improve the conditions of sidewalks and bike paths, provide safety measures for pedestrians and cyclists, implement incentives for environmentally friendly modes of transportation. And for the future of transportation, for the long term, I see that we're going to have to go either elevated or subterranean. This is a long-term goal, but that's how I see the future for that, and just providing the accessibility of these programs so that people can afford them.
Robin, same question for you, looking at affordable and accessible transportation systems in Denver.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having us this evening. It's been an honor to represent the city as your current at-large council person. In terms of transportation, rail is an amazing amenity for the city, but it's actually very expensive to build. And so for us to expand transit in the city, we should be really investing in buses, ensuring that they run much more frequently. The best bus is one you don't have to know the schedule. You walk out and within 10 minutes it comes. For seniors in particular, we need to make our bus stops friendlier. This has been a challenge because they're kind of not owned by any one agency. And so how do we get benches at bus stops in particular? How do we make sure there's a sidewalk at every bus stop? But it's also about more than just those buses. It's about what they cost. One of our challenges is that our regional transportation agency doesn't get any operating funds from the state of Colorado. That's an unfair situation because then they have to rely on fares to pay the bills. In many states, we have seen that they invest in transportation operations and keep fares lower. So I have been an advocate for statewide funding for transportation, including for keeping our buses affordable.
Lynn, how do we look at affordable and accessible transportation in Denver?
So I recently took part in the Denver Streets Partnership event, the amazing mobility race, and it was just really very obvious how many things were lacking in our transportation. One being the disability, enough room for if you're traveling with 2 people who have wheelchairs or disabilities. There needs to be more space. The buses were incredibly crowded, so the frequency needs to be upped. We need more frequency and more direct routes. Also, as Ms. Kniech said, there's a lot of bus stops don't even have benches or shelter. There's no way to cross when people are returning to their cars. There's no safe crossings. So all these things are a priority to me.
Jesse, what do you feel is the way to promote affordable and accessible transportation in Denver?
We need our own transportation district. Right now, we rely on RTD. I am a avid RTD rider. The buses are not coming frequently enough for many of our riders, especially our seniors. There isn't enough sidewalks and actual shelters for these buses. The buses aren't accessible like they should be, as was previously stated. We need to do better as a city and as a council in addressing this. And one way we can do that is by funding our own transportation district that services Denver and the seniors of Denver. And we need to do better with our accessible ride and shopper specials, because right now our seniors are having a very hard time getting to and from the grocery stores and to their appointments. And if you do accessible ride, you have to book it 2-3 days in advance just to get a ride.
Okay, thank you. Tony, wrap it up for us. How would you address affordable and accessible transportation in Colorado?
Sure. I'd first like to thank Colorado Public Television and AARP for hosting this forum, so thank you. I think it's important to acknowledge that we've built a city that subsidizes people to hop into cars. We've made residents car dependent through our land use and zoning over the last at least 8 to 10 years. We've made a lot of mistakes that have gotten us in this quandary. We need to think about how we're building our neighborhoods and have self-sustaining ecosystems in our neighborhoods so that people have less reason to leave their neighborhoods. We need to be sure that the majority of the amenities are in those neighborhoods. According to the Denver Streets Partnership, the City of Denver has a Denver Moves plan. At current funding levels, it will take 100 years to build out the complete pedestrian, bicycle, and transit network. That's completely unacceptable. We've got to find the funding to fund the Denver Moves plan. And then there's a lot we can do around bus rapid transit. Our own transportation department has been mentioned, and that's in the works. And we need to have a real focus on first and last mile connectivity, which will come if we actually fund the Denver Moves plan that has been created.
Robin, you're going to go first in this next question. Denver is currently experiencing a shortage of affordable housing. If elected, what would you do to protect and increase the supply of affordable housing, especially in light of the prospect of increased gentrification of some neighborhoods and along newly opened light rail lines? Robin.
Well, I've had the honor of passing dozens of policies already that are helping to house more than 10,000 folks in our city. And we have to have 3 approaches. One, we have to expand new affordable housing, and that includes for seniors. In particular, I have won senior housing at a number of big redevelopments, such as near Sloan's Lake and near the old CU hospital site on Colorado Boulevard. The second approach needs to be keeping people in the homes that they have. I'm proud to have expanded the senior disabled property tax rebate for low-income homeowners, and we actually added families with children for the first time. So that opens up on May 1st, and I hope seniors will apply if they are low income and struggling with property taxes. And then third, we need to help give people access to existing housing through more opportunities to have vouchers that can move around the city. Maybe you need to be close to a healthcare provider or a grandchild. So making sure there's no discrimination. If you're paying with Social Security or you're paying with those housing vouchers, no one should turn you away from housing you can afford. We can build on all of this with a state bill that I'll be testifying on tomorrow to do inclusionary housing, to have more developers include new affordable in their buildings.
Lynn, the same question, looking at affordable and accessible housing in Denver.
Well, I think the new developments that we have coming up, we need to start exploring green resources and think creatively and out of the box. A lot of these proven green resources will lower the costs for the developer, and therefore they'll be able to, produce a cheaper product and a lower expense product. I also believe we need more housing as far as just the supply and demand. Income keeps the cost of living down. But we also need to make sure that with gentrification, that we include the neighbors in these conversations. A lot of things that have been happening, and what I saw in the city council meeting last night, is that the neighbors were completely left out, and these developers are rushing to the table and to get their things approved, and they don't even have any requirements to have communication with the neighbors and make them involved, and that's really scary to me that that's gone on.
Jesse, we're looking at protecting and increasing the supply of affordable housing in Denver. How do we do it?
Well, first we need to address the fact that we have a housing crisis in the city. Right now, we need at least 26,000 homes built for our lowest income residents. We are not meeting that stock, but yet we have 23,000 vacant luxury apartments and units. So something is not adding up here, and we need to do a better look at our budgeting for the city budget in terms of affordable housing fun, and we need to do away with this linkage fee or increase the amount of fee. Right now, this linkage fee is allowing developers to opt out of creating affordable units and just create nothing but market rate across the board. And as Lynn already stated, the community is not at the table for any of these discussions. I attend Denver City Council meetings on a regular basis, so I am in tune with what's going on, but the masses of our people in the city, especially our seniors, are not in tune and don't know what is going on. And we need to do a better job as a city managing our housing stock. So that's one way. We can also expand on our current affordable housing fund. Another 10-year, 5-year plan isn't going to get it. I am for more immediate and quick solutions. I support ADUs, tiny home villages, tent cities. We need to expand our exclusionary housing, and I worked on rent control. So I'm a full supporter of rent control, and I'll be at the State House tomorrow to speak on behalf of rent stabilization in the state of Colorado.
Okay. Tony, affordable housing in Denver, everyone's talking about it. What should we do about it?
Sure. I'll start just with my personal experience. My mother was a teacher in Denver Public Schools, and my father was a small business owner. 2 kids in the family, and they had access to upward mobility. They could afford to buy a home. As been mentioned before, we have a crisis, a mass inequity and housing crisis, because families don't have that opportunity anymore to build generational wealth. I think the first pragmatic step would be to track and preserve our existing affordable housing stock. As a lot of you have read in the news, we lost track of hundreds of units, most in Green Valley Ranch, that were deed restricted and then sold at market rates. That's completely unacceptable. There's no accountability or transparency in the existing system, so tracking and preserving the existing stock would be a good first step. We're building affordable units, and that should be in quotes, for about the 60% area media income. If we're going to continue to tie affordable housing to AMI, we need to start with like 0 to 40%. And really build units for folks who need them most. Community land trusts are a lever that we really need to use and pull. The current city administration has not promoted community land trusts. They've actually fought against them. Accessory dwelling units citywide is a must. We've only got 11 tiny homes in the city of Denver. And then we also need to stop subsidizing luxury developers for building the wrong product as well. So there's a lot of better things we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Johnny, your answer to how we address affordable housing in Denver.
Yes, thank you. I think we need to transition from profit-based development to ethical development. The issues we're facing is that housing costs are outpacing income. There's need for ethical development practices, community, and historic preservation. So the solutions to that is renter protection, for one thing, rent stabilization, rent control. There is a Senate bill that I've read, 19-225. If that passes, it repeals the Telluride decision, I believe, and that enables us to establish rent control, rent stabilization, renter protection in the city. That limits the rate of the increase of rent, and it ensures standards of the property from the landlords. We need to make sure we put community first. I would like to see open forum neighborhood organizations to choose what kind of development people want. And so we can put the community needs before the developer's request. I'd also like to maybe see if we could include good neighborhood agreements with the proposals, give a little bit more legal weight. Some development improvements. We need to value engineering, energy efficient, and then work with people who are less than 50% AMI as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lynn, you're going to start off in this next question. What do you believe is the greatest barrier to older adults being able to age with dignity in their community?
Well, isolation, a lot of it is that once they are unable to be as mobile as they used to be, they stay in their homes. One of the things I think that would be helpful is if we could have and incorporate more programs where we combine the young and the old and we get them together more often. I think that's something that is always helpful. I mean, you see that in assisted living when they come to visit. It always helps. But I just think in our workforce as well, I know you mentioned that earlier, that would be important to actually bring them into the workforce, but maybe pair them with a younger adult.
Thank you. Jesse, same question. Aging with dignity in Denver, how does it happen?
How does it happen? It happens by making sure our seniors are able to age in place. Our seniors are now being pushed out of their neighborhoods being bought out due to gentrification measures and policies that have been in effect for the past at least 8 years. So our seniors, the property tax increases are forcing our seniors out of their neighborhoods, out of their communities, and that is not acceptable. I support expanding on the already property tax moratorium to allow our seniors to actually stay in place. I do a lot of work with the seniors. We deliver food to the seniors every Sunday morning at the Dahlia Square. We run a food bank out of the Dahlia Square. So I'm very involved with the seniors. So that is one way. And actually talking, call your elder, call your relative and see how they're doing. Check up on them. If they need their grass cut their grass. If they need stuff done around the house, do those things. I do those things for my grandparents, the ones that are still living and the ones that are not. But there's a lot of things we can do. We're just not doing.
Okay. Tony, aging with dignity in Denver. What's the barriers? How do we help?
I think the biggest barrier is that we haven't prioritized it. Our city government hasn't led with ensuring that we can have our seniors age gracefully in place. A lot of it has to do with how we build connected communities. I had a neighbor I live next door. I love that Jesse brought up the small things. You know, when you shovel your neighbor's sidewalk or cut their grass, you know, over a 10-year period, that can go a long way towards keeping them in place. So I think the greatest barrier has been a lack of political will and proactive engagement. There's a lot of great organizations out there that are already doing tremendous work. One is called A Little Help, and they'll make generational connections between students in communities and elders for things that like elders need a ceiling fan cleaned or a light bulb changed or something like that, and then they start telling stories and building personal connections. We can support groups like that. And then Dr. Cog has done some really phenomenal work around supporting aging communities and ensuring that folks are aging gracefully in place. And so I would really amplify and bolster existing organizations' work.
Johnny, we're talking about aging with dignity in Denver.
Yes, thank you. You're going to hear me use the word community a lot in a lot of my answers, but I think we design community programs to address the needs that people have. For example, the accessibility of information about available support. We need to pair tech-savvy young people with our senior citizens to help navigate aid, government support, and what may be the most important concern for aging citizens, which is healthcare options. So we can address rising costs, access, lack of facilities, and gaps in coverage. It is important that we provide means for home health care so that seniors can maintain their independence. We need to keep protective services in place to prevent criminal abuse from our seniors. Also, government needs to support and expand upon programs that bring the highest quality of life possible for our senior citizens, which includes social events and planning, quality food and amenities, transportation, volunteer services for in-home care and a happy life. We in government need to give our support by making these programs accessible and by making sure they're well funded through a combination of private donations, investments, and the city's budget. And the quality of life is important. We provide that through inclusive community outreach. Thank you.
Robin, wrap it up for us.
Well, I think that the rich fabric of life touches seniors in so many different ways. So for those who want to continue working, their dignity is about being able to accept their skills and find places for them to fit in where they can continue to contribute. I know for my own grandmother, being the victim of a fraud was a very challenging experience. And how do we protect our seniors from the embarrassment or the loss of financial resources if they are victimized? Our DA does a great job with that. And then what she experienced afterwards, which many seniors experience, depression. How do we have mental health resources that really match the seniors in our community's needs? And then how do we help them to have the little touches? Sometimes getting your hair done is the most exciting thing in your day. And if your hairstylist is out of business because we haven't helped to keep the local businesses in your community, if you used to buy the tortillas at the same place on the corner, everything we do to preserve community history, I think, is a part of seniors feeling the dignity of their lives. So some of this is about government, some of it's about supporting small businesses, and some of it's about historic preservation.
It's almost time for our closing statements, but we have time for a short answer question. So I'll ask everyone to actually closer to like a 15, 20-second answer here. And I'm just personally interested because our city council has 10 districts, but 2 at-large seats. You're going to be representing, if you are elected, the entire city of Denver. And that's a whole different deal than representing just one district. So Jesse, we're going to start with you. Why are you running at large and not in your home district? And give me a short answer.
I'm running at large because we have citywide issues that need to be dealt with. We actually have 11 districts. 2 of them are at large, so it's 13 in all. So I felt that the need was the community and the city as a whole needed new, bold, proactive leadership at the at-large position, and not candidates or incumbents that are bought and sold by developers and corporations. And we need people that are going to tell corporations and developers no.
Okay. Tony, same question, and my apologies to District 11 out there for forgetting that. Why are you running at large?
Yeah, I think that generally the at-large positions have been a bit underutilized. I think that they're primarily suited to build relationships with surrounding municipalities and counties, because most of our issues need to be addressed regionally. I also think that the at-large position should do a good job of really galvanizing and unifying City Council. I think that it's been a little bit dysfunctional as of late, and those 2 positions can really help bring them together so that there are checks and balances in our city government.
Johnny, why are you running at large, not in your home district?
Excellent question. Thank you. First of all, I think it brings upon a greater challenge. There's more representation, so you have to be diverse. And I am an historian, is what my passion. And I think about how this nation was birthed upon compromise more than anything else. And so this forces that, and it just is it's a greater challenge, and it represents more.
Robin, you're an incumbent. You are representing the entire city. Why the entire city? Why not just a district?
Well, one, I get to interact with and engage with the full diversity of the city and the different areas of neighborhoods, ethnic backgrounds, racial diversity, all the things that make our city vibrant. And then on the policy front, I get to think about big, bold policies that impact the entire community, like lowering energy usage in big buildings, which I've done so that we can protect our climate, like ensuring immigrants are safe and can call the police and use city services without fear, and all the ways that we gave to 8,000 workers. These are big picture policies, and I've been effective in getting them done for the entire city.
Lynn, why at large?
Because I like to bring change, positive change on a large scale, and I'm great working with people and bringing people together, and it never occurred to me to run just for one district. I see it as a whole, and I want to affect Denver positively on a large scale.
Well, I think it's easy to take for granted, all the voters out there, that there are people among us that will stand up and say, yes, I'll run for this. I want this as my job to represent all of us. So I'm happy that we have all these folks and all the candidates we've had in our debates over this series, and I'm grateful for that. It is now time for our closing statements, and we've asked each one of them to give us a 30-second closing statement. We picked an order out of a hat before the debate, so we have a little different order than we're seated. But Robin, you're up first for your 30-second closing statement.
Thank you for having us today, and I want to thank the voters of Denver for the honor of having represented you as your partner and your champion. You've heard a little about the accomplishments that I've had, but each of those has been in partnership with community organizations and residents. I believe that we need to preserve the rich history of our city while we ensure that growth has a conscience. That is for our climate, it's for our kids like my 10-year-old son, it's for the seniors who live in my neighborhood and with whom I interact every day. I don't just represent this community, I live in it and I'm a part of it. I would be honored to have one of your 2 votes for the at-large seat.
Thank you. Tony, you're up next for your 30-second closing statement.
Sure. Thanks again for hosting. This has been fun, and thanks to all the candidates for running and doing everything that you do. My name is Tony Pigford. I'm a 4th-generation Denverite and a 3rd-generation product of Denver Public Schools. I come from a long line of educators, entrepreneurs, and social justice champions who've been shaping this city for over 100 years. I want to carry on that legacy at a policymaking level. I've already begun to do that with some citizen-led legislation with campaign finance reform and also the Let Denver Vote ballot initiative. So I think we need to elect leaders that have a sense of urgency to treat crisis-level issues as emergencies, and also leaders with a great sense of possibility, because we have the chance to make Denver the most vibrant, sustainable, and equitable city in the country. I hope to earn your vote on May 7th, and thanks again for having us.
Lynn, you're up next for your 30-second closing statement.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Lynne Langdon, and I am excited to do a great job for Denver in the coming years. I know that many of you are tired of the status quo, and you're tired of the careless, often rapid development that's been happening, and I'm here to change that. Lynne Langdon.
Thank you, Lynn. Jesse, you're up next. 30 seconds, please.
Jesse Parris, long-term Denver native, born and raised in East Denver. product of DPS schools, graduated from all DPS schools, and got my bachelor's degree in criminology and criminal justice from Metro State. We need proactive leadership in this new term. We are tired of being put on the back burner. The community is tired of being put on the back burner. And if you are tired of being put on the back burner and forgotten and maligned, neglected, and just allowed to be displaced, moved out of your neighborhoods and communities, I suggest that you elect me as your next city council at large. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. And our final closing statement, Johnny.
Well, first of all, thank you, PBS, for hosting this. A little bit about me and what I represent and what I want to accomplish. One thing is the promotion of the arts in the city. So if you believe in that, if you believe in those job opportunities and the improvements that brings to life here. And also I want to encourage the film industry to live and thrive here in Colorado and in Denver particularly. I'm an advocate for the deaf community, and I want to work hard in that area. I believe in mental health, and I wish to promote mental health programs, and I also believe in government accountability. So my name is Johnny Hayes. The great thing is you get to vote for two of us.
Thank you, Johnny. That is all the time we have for our look at the Denver City Council at-large race. I'd like to thank all of our candidates for joining us: Johnny Hayes, Robin Kniech, Lynne Langdon, Jesse Parris, and Tony Pigford. Be sure to tune in next Friday night at 9 p.m. as we take a look at the race for the mayor of Denver, another full studio that we'll be offering here. And again, the ballots have already gone out, but the election day is May 7th. Be sure to make your voice heard. And remember, there may be a runoff in many races. Be sure to vote again on June 4th. For everyone here at Colorado Public Television and AARP, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.